Manifesto rally at the Giant Stadium in Soshanguve, Tshwane this morning. Well, formed in 2013, the party had a good start during the 2014 general elections when it won 6% of the votes. While from that base, the EFF is estimated to have grown by approximately between 10 and 13%. That's depending on different surveys, such as the one conducted by the Institute for Race Relations in September last year. The party has had its share of controversies, with its top leadership implicated in corruption and alleged malfeasance. Well, we are joined in studio here this morning by political analyst and public policy specialist Kagiso TK Pooe. It's great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for making the time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
What is a big day for the EFF leading up to today's manifesto launch? The DSG has said that the party went out and spoke to various stakeholders, and that is what informed their manifesto launch today. Apparently, it rests on 7 unnegotiable pillars. What do you think is going to be put out at this manifesto launch today?
I think that they'll stick to the key ones, which everybody knows, which is land, and it will be then after that will be the issues of nationalization of certain key industries in South Africa, and obviously the key one that seems to be coming up from them when you speak to them is that issue of corruption. And this goes back, I think, over the last 5 years. That's what they've really been punting. But I think the key thing which one has to look at is it's called the second election syndrome. If you remember the UDM and also I think it was also COPE. They all tend to start very well, but after the second election, it starts to dwindle. So when the polls speak about the EFF getting between 10 and 13, the key question I always ask is where are those numbers going to come from? Because if you look at the basic maths, would go with the election, is that for them to cover what the DA has, which DA was sitting at 22%, they need to go from 6 to 22. That's I think you need probably close to 2.2 or 2.1 million votes. Now, what the EFF says and what the EFF is in actual electoral polling, that's the key one. So I think for me the key thing is not so much the manifestos, because I think, look, South African manifestos, it's a bit like a derby, just hoping to fill bums on seats type of thing. The key issue is to say, are people actually going to go vote? And that for me is where it's going to be interesting to see where does the EFF get these votes from.
And speaking of people voting, you yourself as a voter, looking at what is perhaps a very messy political landscape in South Africa at the moment, what are some of the key things that are standing out to you? What are some of the things that you're perhaps looking out for when you're trying to listen to the various political parties putting forth their manifestos? Well, as an ordinary South African, not as an analyst on this one.
Oh, isn't it my vote is my secret? Look, the key thing I always ask is, okay, I give you power tomorrow. What can you actually do? And the key thing I always say I want to be able to see tomorrow is, listen, are you going to be able to hold my municipality accountable? I come from the Vaal Triangle in Fuleni. We've got a disaster of an area. We're talking, it's quite common to see the municipality not collecting refuge and everything else. So can you actually just get municipalities working? That's the first thing I want to see. Secondly, what's your vision for the economy? It's great to speak nationalization. It's great to speak if you're talking about right-wing, private sector. But the key issue is to say, when you get in power tomorrow, are you going to be able to go to the private sector? Because those are the guys that can actually make employment happen and say, listen, let's get a deal together where we can actually make those tough negotiations. Because there's the ideology of employment, which I think a lot of our parties are stuck in, and then there's the actual thing. And maybe this is where I, as a voter, sometimes have an issue. Like if you're asking me as an individual, is what do I mean by employment? I mean, I know we've got a minimum wage, what we're speaking about, and then a company will tell you, but listen, in your sector, I can't give you that. So for me, I've been unemployed, and I can tell you that there's a big difference. Being unemployed, I just want a job. I just want to be able to say, listen, give me money for a taxi. Can I get to work? Can I get that experience? But then people say, listen, it's a quality. So for me, I would be able, a party that can actually just speak to the basics of, look, this is what we mean. Don't make it ideological. Don't give me your right wing, left wing. Just tell me what are we going to do. And the third thing is, look, can we actually just have proper healthcare? It's not great, especially more for, let's say, our mothers and our daughters and women, to actually go to a hospital, a public sector hospital, being asked to wait there. Some of us have had grandmothers who used to, you're going to have to wait how long just to see a doctor. It's not even a given that you're going to see the doctor on the day. And if you even speak to people and friends who are in healthcare, they'll tell you that, listen, it sucks at the moment. We don't even have the basics of gloves actually to do our job. So for me, if you can just do those three things, don't speak high English, convoluted English, just say, fix these three things: health, actual talk about employment, and also can you just get our municipalities working?
Well, the EFF has also spoken about, I think it was on Wednesday, where Floyd Shivambu spoke to something that, you know, touches a lot of South African social grants. He said under the EFF, social grants will be increased. The money that pensioners are getting will be doubled. He also said they're wanting to get rid of the tender system. In your professional opinion, is this realistic, or is it just politicking for the sake of politicking?
Okay, going back to the issue, when you say grants are going to be increased, the key question is always, where's that money going to come from? As you know, this, if you're using SARS statistics, they're actually not collecting as much money as they would like to. Now, if the EFF actually kept to one of the election from 20 slogans was in 2014 that, listen, we're going to actually halve the amount of money MPs get paid. What do MPs get paid? I think the total package comes to 1.1 million. Now, for me, as an ordinary person, you know, it takes a long time for us to even get to work. I have I think a fundamental problem with a politician. Look, all you have to do is get people to vote for you. For you to earn 1.1 million, you're a millionaire by virtue of being a politician. If they were serious, the money should come from halving the fact that we've got too many politicians in this country. We've got too many ministries. And also the issues of grants, it's actually an unsustainable way of doing it. Look, as I said, I come from the Vaal, and you know, in the Vaal we've been accused, we call it the Texas of South Africa, so we've got our own mentality. When you speak to people on the ground, what they want is employment. It's not so much that they want a handout. It's an issue of saying, listen, if you could just generate this grant into something where I can, you know, give me the right institutions to turn it into something I can make money from. But now people might say, look, you're being a bit careless, but it's an issue of saying, how sustainable are grants? It's not something, no country has ever grown from grants. It's just an intrinsic empirical fact.
All right, TK, let's leave it there for the moment. Thank you so much for your insights so far. We are speaking to political analyst Kagiso TK Pooe, and we're just reflecting and looking forward, throwing forward rather to what members and prospective voters can expect to come out of that EFF manifesto launch, which is happening today at the Giants Stadium outside of Pretoria in Soshanguve. Time for us to take